The ocean doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your name, your bloodline, your debt, or the empire your family built on the backs of people who never got to say no. The ocean just takes, cold and patient and absolute. Arya was 30 feet below the surface when the yacht's hull gave way. She remembered the sound first. Not an explosion. Something worse. A groan. Like the ship itself was exhausted. Then the lights went out. The floor tilted, and the world turned into black water and screaming and the specific horrible silence that follows when both of those things stop. She stopped fighting somewhere around 20 feet. Not because she wanted to, because her body simply ran out of argument. And then, him. She saw his face before she saw anything else. Sharp jaw, dark eyes, no fear in them, just focus. The kind that belongs to a man who has decided something and finished deciding. His hand caught her wrist in the dark like he had always known exactly where she would be. Their eyes met underwater. His said, "I have you." Hers said, "Who are you?" Neither of them had an answer for the other yet. She woke up to gold. Gold-leafed ceiling panels, gold-threaded curtains catching morning light. A bed so deep and so white she felt like something that had washed ashore, which technically she had. Arya sat up slowly. Her lungs ached. Her wrists were bruised. She was wearing clothes that weren't hers. Soft, expensive, clearly chosen by someone who had never once in their life grabbed whatever was clean. The room was silent, but it was the silence of a place with rules. She found out what the rules were within the hour. He came in without knocking, not rudely, just with the confidence of a man who had never needed to ask permission to enter any room he owned, Geondal. She would learn his name the way you learn the name of weather. Not introduced to it, just suddenly surrounded by it. Tall, dark suit, no tie, top button open like the only concession he ever made to being human. His face was the same face from the water, composed, unreadable, almost architectural in its stillness. He set a single sheet of paper on the bed beside her and stepped back. "You don't leave this floor without one of my people beside you," he said. "You don't use your phone to contact anyone until we've confirmed your line is clean. You don't go near the windows on the east side of the building." He paused. "And you don't ask me why?" "Not yet." Arya stared at the paper. It was a list, an actual, physical, handwritten list. "You pulled me out of the ocean," she said slowly, "and now I'm a prisoner." "You're protected," he said. And the way he said it, quiet, absolute, like the word had weight he had personally placed inside it, made her not say anything else. Not yet. The truth came on the third day. Not from him. From a man in a gray suit who sat across from her in a downstairs room that felt more like a boardroom than anything else, and explained, calmly, almost apologetically, that her family's debt to the Kang organization was substantial. That her father had made arrangements. That her presence here was not, technically, a rescue. It was a collection. Arya sat with that information for a long time. She thought about her father's voice on the phone 3 weeks ago, the way he'd encouraged her to take that yacht trip, the specific warmth in it that she now understood had been relief. The relief of a man who had already signed something. She didn't cry. She just got very, very still. The warning came at a charity auction on a Thursday evening, her first public appearance. Geondal 2 steps behind her like a shadow with a heartbeat. She was reaching for a glass of water when the woman beside her leaned close and pressed something cold against her palm. A photograph. Arya, asleep, in the gold-leafed bedroom, taken from outside the east window. The one Geondal had told her not to go near. The woman was gone before Arya could turn her head. Geondal was beside her in 4 seconds, not rushing, just there, his hand closing around her elbow with a steadiness that said he had already seen everything he needed to see from across the room. He took the photograph without looking at it. His jaw tightened once. That was all. But on the drive home, his hand didn't leave her arm. She found him on the rooftop at midnight. No suit jacket, no performance. Just a man standing at the edge of a city that feared him, looking like someone who had been tired for a very long time. She almost went back inside. She didn't. He spoke first, without turning around. "I was 12, he said, when I decided I would never let anyone take something from me again." A pause. The city hummed 40 floors below them. "I have kept that promise for 23 years. He finally turned to look at her. And for the first time since the ocean, since the dark water and the hand and the eyes that said "I have you," Arya saw it. Not the CEO, not the collector, not the man with the rules and the lists and the grip like iron. Just a boy who had been broken once and built something terrifying over the wound to make sure it never happened again. She didn't say anything. She just stood beside him. And somehow, that was enough. She found the kitchen by accident on a Tuesday. Not because she was hungry. Because the mansion was too quiet in the way that expensive things are always too quiet. Like silence had been purchased and installed alongside the marble and the gold leaf, and Arya had spent enough of her life in rooms that asked nothing of her. Her hands needed something real to do. The kitchen was vast and cold and stocked like a hotel. She stood in front of the pantry for a long time, reading labels, running her fingers over tins and jars, until something in her chest loosened just enough. She cooked the way her grandmother had taught her. Not from a recipe, from memory. The jollof rice. First, tomatoes and Scotch bonnet and the specific patience of a low flame that could not be rushed. Then the sweet potato pie, which required the kind of focused attention that leaves no room in your head for fear or fathers or photographs slipped into your palm at charity auctions. The kitchen filled with warmth, with smell, with something that felt for the first time in weeks like home. She didn't notice Jun until he was already leaning against the doorframe. Jun, Kang Dae's head of close protection, a man built like a question nobody wanted to ask, who had said approximately 14 words to her since her arrival, and seemed to consider that generous. He was watching the stove with an expression she had never seen on him before. Something open, something young. She cut him a slice of the pie without asking. He ate it standing up, over the counter, with the careful attention of someone who understood they were tasting something that mattered. When he finished, he set the fork down and was quiet for a moment. "My mother used to make something close to this," he said finally, "before things got bad." Arya waited. "She didn't have anyone to fight for her," he said. "Back then." He looked up. "She does now. But it took too long." He picked up the fork again, then set it back down. A decision being made. "No one in this house will let that happen to you," he said. "I need you to know that isn't just a job." He left before she could respond. Arya stood in the warm kitchen for a long time, the smell of jollof rice and sweet potato wrapping around her like an answer to a question she hadn't known how to ask. Kang Dae found the photograph from the auction in his own files the next morning because he had put it there. Catalogued, cross-referenced, already threaded into a chain of evidence his people had been quietly building since the night it was taken. He was not a man who waited for threats to arrive. He went to meet them. By Thursday, he had a name attached to the gray cap from the yacht's security footage. By Friday, he had a location, not a home address, something more useful, a pattern, a routine. The specific vulnerability of a man who believed he had not been found. Kang Dae sat at the head of his operations table and looked at the assembled information the way a surgeon looks at a scan, not with anger, with precision. The underworld he commanded was not loud. It was thorough. It was the kind of infrastructure built by a 12-year-old boy who swore he would never be powerless again, and then spent 2 decades making that promise structural. He would find the man who sent the warning, and the man who sent him. Arya knew he was moving on something. She could feel it in the house. The way certain doors stayed closed, the way June's eyes swept rooms a half-second faster than usual, the way Kang Dae looked at her across the dinner table like he was calculating something that included her as a variable. She went to him. "Tell me, what's coming?" she said. He looked at her for a long moment. "Someone from your past hired the people on that yacht," he said. "This wasn't random. You were targeted before you ever became my problem." His problem. She noted the word. She noted, also, that he had used it like it meant something different than it sounded. "Then I should run," she said. "Take this away from your door." "You could," he said. Quiet. Factual. "Or you could let me finish it." And there it was. The question underneath everything. Whether she would trust a monster to fight her war. Whether the cage he'd built around her was protection, or just a prettier kind of trap. Whether the man on the rooftop at midnight, the one who had been tired for 23 years, was someone she could stand beside, or someone she needed to survive. She thought about her father's voice on the phone, the specific warmth of a man who had already let her go. She thought about June and his mother, and it took too long. "Finish it," she said. Damien Cole landed in Seoul on a Saturday. He came with lawyers, with security, with the particular confidence of a man who had always used legal architecture the way other men used weapons, building walls of paperwork and litigation and plausible deniability around every terrible thing he had ever done. He had destroyed Arya's family from the inside of a boardroom. He had no idea what waited for him outside of one. Kang Dae stood at the window of his 42nd floor office and watched the convoy pull up below. His reflection in the glass was still, composed, patient. Beside him, without being asked, Arya stood. 2 worlds were about to meet. The legal monster and the underworld king. And the city below them had no idea the ground was about to shift. But we do. Subscribe to see how this unfolds. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I would love to say hello to you and know just how far our story is reaching. Let's build this together.